The bell tolls for thee. Good afternoon, happy Friday, and welcome to the adventures of Bradley and Dawn. And we're going to kick things right off with what you came for, kids, the breakingest breaking news of all time. And I am, of course, talking about soup.
The soup bracket.
Can we do a little soup? There it is. Soup. There it is. Let's talk about soup. There it is.
Where'd you put it on the button bar?
There it is.
We'll just sing
Talk
it.
about soup.
There it is.
It's themes.
Soup. There it is.
Themes. There it is.
Oh, here it is.
Here.
I want soup.
Soup. There it is.
Can't tell the difference. We sounded just like it.
Yeah.
Soup.
It is the Bradley and Dawn Super Showdown 2025 here with our first update after your voting, my talkers. You voted for the last few days, determining or helping determine the world's best soup of all time ever.
Yes.
Is our commissioner of soups. His name is Michael Chowder Ganger.
That's me.
Chowder.
I did not.
Chowdies. What's going on, Chowdies?
Hey, looking forward to talking about this first round and these results. I will say I didn't think we were going to have quite. I mean, pie is great. Everyone loves pie,
Yeah,
right?
everyone loves
And
pie.
people are passionate about their pie choices.
Yeah.
People are way more passionate about their soup choices.
Yeah.
We got
Really?
people voting like crazy. Blew the numbers of the pie bracket right out of the water.
Really?
And we have got the results from round number one.
Okay, so how many soups battled it out for round one of the Super Showdown?
So there were 16 total soups, meaning 8 matchups. We have the results of these 8 matchups.
And they were
Again,
broken into different regions.
They were. We'll go region by region, but in that top left region, we had the us versus the world region, and that was where Chicken Wild Rice resided with some other soups. You had chili in the heartburn region, or the Pepto-Bismol region, whatever you prefer to call it. That one was chili with the top seed. Then you had broccoli cheese, the top seed for the, and
My
Bradley's favorite region, the creamy region. And as you work your way out of the creamy region, we head to the classic versus the gimmicks region, where chicken noodle soup went against some soups that might be called gimmicky by some.
Okay.
That's some
Onion, wonton, etc.
wonton, French onion, yeah.
Okay. You said we had a robust participation effort
Yes.
by listeners. So that makes me feel good because the more participation, the more representative the sample
100%.
of people's feelings about soup. So how do you want to start this? Are you going to go through each region?
I think we just go region by region.
All right, let's
Work our
do
way
it.
right on through it.
We are here for you, Michael.
All right, the results are in. The first round was stirring with broth-taking competition.
By the way, just quickly, this is the best part.
Hang on tight.
Mike's puns are
Punny.
Super good.
chef's kiss.
So as this broth-taking competition continued, while some simmered to victory, others boiled over and crumbled like crackers in defeat. Now, without further ado, me so honored to give you our round one victors. And we start with the us versus the world region. And our matchup number one, chicken wild rice versus split pea.
Yeah. I think this is pretty easy.
The top seed says, whoop, let me just scoot right on past you and move on to round two as a convincing 83% victory for wild rice dominates split pea.
You know, this just shows you where we are.
What? It does.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
sane
saying
world where people
regionally.
choose the right soup.
You think that chicken wild rice is the right soup?
Yeah, that's the right one. Obviously.
Oh my God. I'm sorry. Split pea soup is amazing.
But it's not better than chicken wild rice.
I would argue that. But anyway, no surprise. What I'm saying is regionally, it is a classic for a reason. All right. So chicken wild rice.
Chicken wild rice
Now we got
victorious. Go ahead and say what we got next.
Pho, which is a broad category of soups. I mean, I am so curious how pho does against vichyssoise.
Yes, you said it. Next up is vichyssoise versus pho. Well, vichyssoise bowl apparently sprung a leak. L-E-E-K.
Yeah.
As it was a phenomenal performance and a round one victory, sending pho on to the take on the top seed, wild rice.
Yeah, I guess not a surprise either. I'm very happy with this one.
Yeah.
One of our, there were a lot of these matchups that were in that 65-35% range, right in that area. This is one of those matchups. So out of the 8 matchups, 4 of them fell in that like 65 to 67% range.
Interesting.
And again, so this was pretty close.
Okay.
But enough to move on for pho.
All right, so now pho is officially going up against chicken wild rice. This is going to be a very interesting
Yeah.
matchup. I mean, the numbers would tell you that it's chicken wild rice is to lose,
You would think so. Yeah.
but
You never
we've been
know.
here before.
A lot of passionate people about pho.
This is true. There's also a lot of passionate people as we move on to our next bracket, the heartburn bracket. Grab your Tums. We move on to bracket number 1. Matchup number 1 saw a classic take on the single most controversial contender in the field.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chili, 1-on-1 versus tomato.
Oh, God, what do you think?
I mean,
Yeah,
I
you
think
guys wanna
it's
give
chili.
predictions?
Yeah,
I mean, I
definitely
hope it's chili.
Yeah,
I think it's chili too.
I think people, despite their lingering doubts about chili's qualification, chili just will rise
Right.
above it.
we have to move past that because it's in. So like, you got to give up your like chili isn't a soup thing because it's in.
Yeah, agreed. But
I had to tell myself that.
okay,
Let me give you the results.
here we go.
This proved to be the tightest battle of the entire round. But in the end, tomato just couldn't catch up to its meteor counterparts. And while you can stew over whether or not soup is or chili is a soup or not, one thing is for sure, it is moving on to round 2.
All right.
Yes, like how close was it?
53% to 47%. This was by far the closest from a percentage standpoint of all of the matchups.
I guess we shouldn't be surprised because chili, I almost called it chili.
Sure.
Chili,
Chili.
would you like some chili, man? Because chili is so
You can't
controversial.
leave chili out.
No, you don't want a chili. Chili. Yeah, I guess people didn't fully accept that we had put chili in the mix.
And you can still argue, even though it's in the competition, if you truly want to stick to your guns and say
Yeah.
this is a soup competition,
Yeah.
I don't think it's a soup. If you're saying that, then vote for its opponent.
People have now, by virtue, I would just say going forward, by virtue of America's vote, chili is now a soup. It is
Wow.
official.
Okay.
Because,
That solved the debate.
I mean, it wouldn't
But
advance.
if you disagree, don't vote for chili, I guess.
Well,
You might
or
have-
just abstain from voting at all, because if you don't believe in soup, why are you even here?
Well, let's find out who you'd have to vote for in the next round, because Chile is going to move on to face its opponent of this next matchup. On the other side of the Heartburn region, it's tortilla soup versus vegetable beef barley. A fun styles clash as the fiesta of Mexican-inspired flavors meets the hearty Scottish enemy.
Mm-hmm.
It was a broth bath.
Broth bath!
Yeah.
Veggie beef barley started the noble fight by uttering the phrase, "All soups get eaten, but not all soups truly live." What? And you can take our vegetables, but you'll never take our barley. But ultimately, Tortilla took both, salsaing on to a tight 55% to 45% victory.
I am loving America right
Okay.
now, mostly because I've gotten each one of these correct.
Me too.
And I will say, so far in the first half, because we've gone through half these matchups, it has been, as they refer to as chalky. Every higher seed has won so far.
Okay.
So it is exactly how
What
the
does
experts.
chalky mean?
Chalk just means you're sticking with, like, if you're on a chalkboard and you put out what you think the results are, it's saying that all of the favorites are winning.
Yeah,
basically.
there's
It's
been
a-
no upsets
It's a
yet.
sports
Got
betting
it.
term, yes.
So basically,
It's shocking.
It's as expected.
yeah.
Chalky, just like the Tums you just had to eat while you were going through that heartburn bracket. That means we move on to Bradley's favorite region,
Creamy region.
the cream.
That word is so
Ew, that gave me a chill.
right.
All right, we move on to the creamy region. Our first matchup sees the number 2 seed broccoli cheese taking on New England clam chowder.
How do you feel,
You guys' thoughts?
I'm feeling pretty confident in my broccoli cheese right now.
Dawn?
Yeah, broccoli cheese. I don't like clams.
Well, it's not about what you like; it's about what people think.
Yeah, I don't think people like clams. I think they like.
I think
broccoli
Midwesterners
cheese
are
over-
absolutely cheese forward.
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out because the underdog didn't clam up under pressure. But it was a wicked tough draw going against broccoli cheese, and it just proved cheddar than the rest and beats the Northeast opponent, winning 60% to 40%.
Oh,
Those
okay.
ones.
That's pretty.
Good.
That's pretty
Right.
clear.
A wicked tight matchup there for those two.
Wicked.
Yeah, I feel like if we were on the East Coast, it might be a different story. If we're in a coastal region, perhaps people would reward the seafood forward.
We're not going to go through everyone's individual brackets, but I will just say, rest in peace, Steve Patterson's bracket, who had broccoli or had clam chowder winning it all.
Oh, dear.
Okay. That man.
He also
Clam
said-
chowder?
He also saw drones today.
Yeah,
last
which,
night,
by the way,
which
are
was an
planes.
airplane.
They're planes.
Yeah.
It's fine. We talked about it.
All right.
He hasn't accepted it yet. Though.
So with that, broccoli cheese, the 2 seed does move on. And I will say in the voting as well, we didn't include this time the actual seedings.
Yeah.
So we thought maybe that wouldn't,
That would
skew
sway
anybody's-
someone.
Exactly. If someone looked and said, oh, this one's 2, this one's 15, clearly I'm going to vote for the 2 seed. They were completely independent of that.
Okay.
So if you weren't listening, you're just voting on your heart, which is what we're looking for. Let's move on to the next one. The other side of the creamy region. Creamy. Sees butternut squash challenge cream of mushroom. This matchup had our Midwestern voters asking themselves all the same question. You can actually eat cream of mushroom soup without adding it to green beans, tater tot hot dish, or pork chops?
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Well, clearly that question wasn't enough as butternut squashed its fungi foe. Butternut squash rolls on. Get it?
What was your fungi joke? What did you say?
Just that it squashed its fungi foe. Butternut
foe.
squash.
Okay.
Squashed
Got it.
its foe. There you
Yeah, I have a love affair with cream of mushroom soup, but I knew just everybody has a butternut squash recipe. I ask anybody in Minnesota,
Yeah.
do you have a butternut squash recipe? They do, because it's just a ubiquitous soupy good
That's
time. What
right.
was the spread on that?
The spread on that one, 65. That was another one of our 65 percenters
pretty
as
convincing.
butternut squash, 65-35 over
Okay.
cream of mushroom.
All right.
That means we move on to the classic versus the gimmicks region. The ultimate classic chicken noodle
Oh, boy.
versus Italian wedding.
This was my upset pick, guys.
Was your upset Italian wedding?
Yeah, I picked Italian wedding.
I
here.
did not. Dawn, what did you pick?
Don, do you remember?
Chicken noodle.
Yeah, so did I.
In its quest to be crowned capo de zuppa, Italian wedding soup made chicken noodle an offer it couldn't refuse. But the godfather of sick days, chicken noodle, whacked its lower seated soldier and sent it to sleep with the fishes, winning 67% to 33%.
There it is. Wait, what was that percentage again?
67 to 33. So another pretty.
Italian, like mob references there. Mike.
We learned from our first go round. Don't pick your favorites.
No.
Because all of these, like, I would far prefer an Italian wedding soup. But I just knew people love the chicken nudes.
Gotta have it. It's medicine.
Gotta get that nude.
It is. And that leaves us with one final matchup.
Can we do it? Can we do it?
And it was a final matchup for the ages. 2 dishes that served more as bowls of art. The French onion, with its caramelized onion base resting alongside a pillow of rustic French baguette. I apologize. There's lots of food descriptive words in this one, Don.
Creamy.
It was tucked underneath a warm, cozy blanket of
Moist.
Gruyere cheese. The dumplings on the wonton soup floated like delicious superstars on the brink of exploding with flavor.
Oh, God.
A battle best served in the Louvre. And for good reason, because French onion says au revoir to a wonton with a victorious 71% victory.
Woo!
Bye-bye wonton soup. And with that, it was like in the first round, in the second round, all of the favorites have moved on. The seeding was apparently correct.
Oh, my
because
gosh.
all
I
of the
mean,
favorites move on.
This has been an expert showdown here.
Have you done the draft picks yet to see who,
How everyone's brackets
Yeah,
have
yeah.
been. I have not gone through and done all of our My Talkers, the hosts and producers, everyone who's filled out brackets. I've not gone through and
I'm curious
seen
because
who's doing the best.
I'm curious if a lot of people followed their.
I know mine was perfect.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure there
Same.
were probably half the people who were perfect. Because again, these were all of the favorites moving on. There were no upsets. So we'll see how aggressive people got.
Very, very
I just
grateful.
got one wrong.
Nice. That's a
too.
good spot to
Me
be.
too.
And again, you have to basically have the soup that goes all the way to
Yeah.
the end.
Right.
Brittany proved this last time. She had a perfect bracket through round 1 of the pie challenge, and then I think she finished like
And then
20th.
she crapped out.
So again, we're gonna have and again, these will go up now to vote on. So second round matchups: chicken wild rice versus pho. You also have chili versus tortilla. That's going to be an interesting matchup there.
Interesting.
You've got broccoli cheese going to be going against butternut squash. Chicken noodle will then also take on French onions. So the final 8 soups have been determined.
That's where things are going to
Yay.
get real hairy. But Mike,
Yes.
thank you. Your broth is deep and complex in flavor
Thank you.
and full of surprises.